Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have JP Bachmann. He is a professional speaker, newly published author, and his purpose in life is to help those around him develop goals which will align their careers to their purpose, elevate careers, and help audiences raise themselves to new heights. Welcome to the show, JP.
Oh, it's so good to be here, AJ. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we will be talking right now. We'll be talking about purpose driven goals, how one can overcome their past and achieve their purpose. But before we come to this, let's understand a bit about your journey. How have you taken this big shift from a robotics engineer to national sales leader in IT industry to a professional speaker and author now?
Yes, my career path is not one that would, I think anybody would map out. I started as an electrical engineer in the United States military. I transitioned into mechanics and robotics engineering, where I spent 14 years. And in 2016, I found myself in the energy sector. When that industry went downward, as it did in 2016, I had a friend that helped me transition into IT, where I started in sales. I didn't want to be in sales. I didn't know what computers really were at the time, let alone software, or why it needed to be licensed. And here I am 8 years later, where I've had a wonderful career as a salesperson, as a director. And during the past 8 years simultaneously, I've learned how to be a professional speaker, and I've launched that career. During the last year, one of my coaches asked me to write a book. So I've decided to do that. It will come out here in about 2 weeks is when it will go live on Kindle. And during the writing process, I discovered something about myself, which was why I was so unhappy in my first career and what has really made me happy in my second. And that's something that I really want the rest of the world to know, is what their purpose is in life. I know that's a really big topic, but it's a fantastic thing to discover about yourself, is why you were put on this earth to draw breath in the first place, and how you can use that gift to help others and to hopefully have some wonderful success along the way. I know I certainly have, and I can't wait to share that message with everybody else.
Wonderful, wonderful, JP. Now, to understand, you talk about, goal setting. It doesn't always work. And at the same time, we are talking about achieving goals, leaving the past behind. So I want to understand a bit about this goal setting. What is the right kind of goal setting, and which kind of goal setting doesn't work? What kind of goal setting works? Help us a bit, so that any person who is listening, even in a small place, can understand this.
Yes, absolutely. Any coach will tell you that in order to be successful, whether that's in your career, in your life, in whatever your pursuit, you should set goals. You should write them down. But the problem is, if you're anything like I've been in my past, you'll write a goal down, you set it on the side of your desk, it falls down, and then you don't find it again until you change your office or you move. And the problem with that is you're not actually training your brain to understand what that goal is. You're not doing the work to understand, is this really the goal that I should be setting? In my book, I talk about developing a mindset toward success. That's the actions that go toward achieving your goals. But more importantly is, what are the goals that you should be setting? How do you do root cause analysis and understand what your ultimate purpose behind the goal is? And then how do you condition your mind to achieving that goal? What we cover subconscious programming. So we help you to develop a state of mind that makes your subconscious mind what drives you towards those goals in the first place, because you're in line with what your ultimate purpose is. when you can align your purpose and your goals together, you can achieve anything.
Right, JP. So let's look at it from your career perspective. You were a robotics engineer, then in IT, you know, and then what you are doing now as a professional. So all this wisdom, when did it dawn on you? And I want to understand then why there were, different steps that you had to take to reach to a position where you are. If I believe you are doing what you wanted to do, how is it then others can learn through your career shift and achieve it much more early in life rather have to spend a good amount of time in their own lives and then coming to realize that this is not what they wanted, which a lot of people do in today's time. Even with me, I can tell you at different points in time you have different ways of looking at life and goals. So I want to understand a bit from your understanding wisdom of life so that people can learn from that wisdom.
Oh, absolutely. Fantastic question. And AJ, I really wish I had learned that lesson much sooner in life because, like I said, I spent 14 years as a robotics engineer. And for 14 years, I was truly unhappy. I earned a good living. I provided for my family, but there was no fulfillment in the job. I did well at it. By any outside looker, I was successful. But my transition point mentally really began when I made that giant career change because I had to reassess everything in my life. I had lost 86% of my income. I almost lost my home. It was a very challenging time in my life, but I decided that I was going to lean into this new opportunity and learn what I needed to learn to be successful in a sales career in an environment that I knew nothing about. That's when I started to develop the mindset that I discuss in my book. I call it the bias mindset because it's really about addressing your fears and facing them head on, but being willing to say yes to new opportunities. But when I had I call it my aha moment, was really just recently when I was challenged to write this book. I had been developing my story over many years and learning that I had to deal with issues from my past. But when I made the connection that by setting goals and understanding what was driving those goals, it's not always about a title in your job. It's not always about having a certain type of house or a car or what clothes that you wear or how much money is in the bank. Those things, they're important. They can be, but they're not the definition of success. When you can understand what your ultimate purpose is and align with that, my ultimate purpose is to help other people. In my career as a salesperson, what I began to understand is I can't sell something that I don't believe in and won't solve a customer's problem. When I made that connection and I understood that by solving somebody else's problem, not only did I make the sale and I was successful in my career, but it made me feel good. When I came to the understanding that my purpose is to help other people to be able to uplift their lives and succeed in their lives, that's when I became in alignment with my purpose. So what I've done in my book is I've outlined not only my story, but the stories of about a dozen other people who are living in their goals and achieving them and the obstacles that they've overcome. Because my story is just like your story. Is you have a specific purpose and you're doing something to help other people around the world get their message out. And I hope, AJ, that helps you find fulfillment. And for any of your listeners, when you can understand what your purpose or your calling in life is, and you can align with that purpose, you can be absolutely successful in everything that you try as long as it doesn't violate those rules.
Right, JP. Now let's get a bit more understanding about your book. The book Success Unleashed. Who is this book for? Is it for any particular group of people, or it can be, it can be useful for a wider audience?
This book is truly designed for a wider audience, but if I had to pick a target demographic, it's anybody in life, whether they're later in their career or just starting out that just doesn't understand where they're supposed to be. Like I said, this is about discovering your purpose. The full title of the book is Success Unleashed, Mastering Your Life's Purpose. So if it's somebody who is halfway through their career, maybe they're in their 40s or their 50s, and they've come to the realization that they just don't know where they want to be. In America, we have this saying, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I hear a lot of adults that say that question. Well, physically, we're grown up. But when I hear people say that, it makes me realize that they haven't really truly aligned with their purpose. And when I see younger people, maybe that are entering college or just coming out of college, and they want to start a career, but they really don't know where they want to be. If they go through the goal setting technique, which I call a WISE goal, you might be familiar with SMART goals. A WISE goal really has a much broader scope. It's about identifying really where your ultimate goals are and setting SMART goals along the way. SMART goals still have their place, but WISE goals are those things that you can't put within the parameters of time. So as I'm talking to a younger audience, I might talk about aligning what their goals are so that they can choose a career. But for somebody a little bit later in life, maybe they've climbed the corporate ladder only to realize it's leaning against the wrong building. And it can be very scary to try to move to a different career at such a late stage in life. So what we do is we cover some of the topics to help people make career transitions or really to align with something from a career or a hobby or a family standpoint that will help get them to where whatever that goal is that they've set for themselves is.
Right, right, JP. Now, to understand this better, what are the challenges that people face in, finding the right purpose or aligning with their purpose? Why is it that they are not able to do so early in their careers, after some years into the work? Why is it that they have to realize it only after some time? Only few people are able to understand what is their purpose. Is it a purposeful sort of thing that God has designed us that way, or is it that we are there is a deficiency in us that has to be rectified, that can be rectified only later on in life? Help us understand this part. Why can't we have an ideal life with regards to purpose, rather than falling into this trap of wrong sort of things and then we find the right thing?
Well, believe it or not, you actually asked two questions in one, AJ. The first question that you asked was, why are we where we are? And quite frankly, a lot of people, they get into this pattern of feeling that they should be in a certain position based on what other people have told them, or based on circumstances that they found themselves in life. One of the chapters in my book, we talk about the subject of abuse, which can be a very heavy subject. I'm not going to claim to be a psychologist or somebody who can deal with some of those deep-rooted issues, but in my own life, I discovered that the choices that I had made that got me to be a robotics engineer were based on lies that I was told when I was developing. They were based on abuses that I had suffered that made me have self-doubt despite all of the gifts and abilities that I was given and the purpose that I was given. I believed certain things about myself, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't smart enough, that I wasn't fast or strong enough to do the things that I really should have been doing. So I opted for things that I felt somebody who wasn't intelligent or wasn't gifted or wasn't smart had the ability to do. I wasn't educated. I didn't come from an educated family. So I made choices based on my family's past, based on my past, based on those abuses. And what I've seen as I've interviewed other people and I've spoken to different groups around the United States, I found that a lot of people are in similar situations where they've made choices built on circumstance or built on their past or built on abuses or lies. And then by the time they reach mid-career, they say, well, how did I get here? So that's your first question. And then the other question is, well, I don't know, it jumped out of my mind, but where I was going is with those lies and that abuse and those circumstances, people will end up where they are. But when they get into a future state and they've gone through that career, how do they make that change? Because it can be terrifying trying to go from somewhere where I've achieved success on this side, but I realize I'm supposed to be over here. And that was the other question that you asked, was about goal setting. When people set goals, if they don't really dissect that goal and understand why they've set it in the first place, and then make sure that the end goal is in alignment with the root cause. If they don't do that, they can't actually align with the right goal because it's out of alignment with their purpose. So when we go into a wise goal setting methodology, what we do is we do that root cause analysis. We do the hard work, which, by the way, you can't do by yourself. I discovered that the hard way. When we do the hard work and do that root cause, it can cause us to shift our goals. Once we've gotten the correct goal, then we program our brains on how we can achieve that goal by programming our subconscious to believe that we've already achieved it. When we've done that, opportunities show up everywhere around us, and we have no choice but to achieve success in whatever that goal is.
Right, JP. You talk about that your past does not define your future. How have you dealt this particular aspect in your book, especially with regards to career, families, and even hobbies?
Yeah, thank you. That, like I said, during my past, I grew up with a lot of abuse, a lot of misconceptions of what reality really was. Unfortunately, one of my parents was very abusive and told me things like, JP, you're stupid. You'll never amount to anything. You don't have any worth. And when someone grows up hearing those negative reinforcements, they can't help but believe that those things are true, especially when it's coming from somebody that's trusted or should be trusted in their lives. So as I grew up, I was hearing those things and I believed those things. Also, my family had no history of education. There was nobody in my family prior to me that had gotten more than a secondary or a high school education. I was the first person to attempt college in my family, but because I believed all those negative things about me, I didn't think I could do it. And I had actually dropped out. And it wasn't until years later I realized that I did have the mental capacity to go do those things that nobody had done. And now I'm the first college degree recipient in my entire family. And when I was entering the military, in the United States, we have to take a test to find out what jobs you're capable of doing in the military. And the scores range from about a 30 all the way up to a 99. It's called the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, or ASVAB. And when I took that test, I didn't think that I would score well on it at all. But imagine my surprise when I scored a 99, which by the United States military is a perfect score. I didn't accept or believe that because of all those things that I had been told in my past. But that was really the first explanation in my life that those were lies. Those were not things that I had to live by. And it allowed me over time to change my perception of myself and my outcome for my family. And of course, then I went on to get a degree. I went on to have a junior executive position at the last company that I worked with. And just to really have a solid, stable family life, one that I didn't have modeled for me as a child. And it was because I uncovered the lies that were told to me, and I've reconciled a lot of those abuses that I suffered in order to move forward. But that took a lot of work. It was very hard to go through all of that.
Right. My last question to you, JP, is to understand: does purpose has a finality to it, or every purpose that we think of is like an assignment, and after that there will be another purpose, but it will be all during our lifespan? I want to understand from that aspect?
That is the question of a lifetime. I really wish I knew the answer to that one. Discovering someone's purpose or discovering my own purpose changed my life. Now I know that I can reach to audiences everywhere I go, and I can uplift and enrich people in so many different ways. But I don't know what the end goal of that. Earlier, you'd mentioned God, and is this something that's imbued to us, or is this something that's assigned as we go through different portions of our lives? I don't know that answer. I believe that God does. I believe that we were given a purpose on this earth, and our job is to fulfill that purpose, to discover it, and then to fulfill it. I've only recently discovered mine here in the last couple of years, but now as I go out and I speak to audiences, I find enrichment in that. And as I do my workshops and as I help people uncover their purposes, it's fun for me to watch them realize whatever their goals are. Some people, their goal is to run a business. Other people, their goal is to help people who struggle mentally, or help the elderly, or to work with children, or to just be fantastic parents and raise the next generation. Everybody has a different goal. It's not my job to decide what the goal is for somebody else, just like nobody can decide your goal for you. And I wish I had the answer to what is the end goal. I don't know.
Wonderful. There is much to learn about these things from you, JP, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to connect with you and learn from you about these. Also about your book, if I understand, it's getting released on this later this month. So how do people get hold of that book?
Yes, the book will be available on Amazon, Kindle, and Kindle Unlimited. So if you have an e-reader, you can get it there. It will be available on July 16th. The name of the book is Success Unleashed, Mastering Your Life's Purpose by JP Bachmann. If you want to contact me, my information can be found at the-legacy.net. That's all spelled out, THEDASHLEGACY.net. And there is a Connect With Us section on there where you can leave your information, and I will get back with you personally.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much, AJ. It's a pleasure to visit India again. I look forward to hopefully meeting you in person someday.